Paul McCartney. Taking up 2 seats. But I think the stuff's there. No?
I think that's her bag.
How many seats does she need?
That's a damn good question. I'm kind of over.
I don't want to move her.
Where is she?
I just saw her a second ago.
It's a company question.
I'm gonna just leave my stuff here, and if she moves, she moves.
I do.
On the outside.
Well, it doesn't matter. Okay. Have all the elected officials and their representatives signed in and picked up their mail also? Thank you. Mark, are you ready? Hey. Where's Mark?
I don't see it. Oh, he's over there.
Let's see. Ask him if he's ready. Laura, would you make sure the officers sign in, please, too? Thank you. He's still trying to get into the system. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Edgar. That's okay. You got to come sit with us. Come on up. We'll get sick with you. We share everything here.
Then you got $100.
Oh, yeah.
Did you pat it?
Okay, we'll get to that. All right.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Looks good on a black shirt. See the white shirt.
Well, yes. She's giving me, she's going to put them in sequences. So, Mark, are you ready? All right. Welcome to Community Board 5's regularly scheduled Community Board meeting for the month of the new year, January of 2020. Would you all please rise? The flag is in the back on the wall. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the first order of business tonight is a presentation regarding composting and trash, and we have Ali Gumas, the Outreach Coordinator for the Bureau of Recycling and Sustainability for New York City Department of Sanitation. Ali, would you take that microphone? Ali? Thank you. Thank you. And welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Fantastic. First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is my first time in a Queens 5 Community Board meeting, so I appreciate the generous offering of time. I know your time is tight. I also appreciate that your agenda is concise and looks like we should be an hour and a half and not 4. So thank you. I work for the Department of Sanitation, specifically in the Bureau of Recycling and Sustainability. First and foremost, I want to introduce my team. This is our Queens-based outreach staff. That's Susan, Tanya, and Michelle. I'm Allie. The 3 of them back there work every day in Queens, specifically in Queens 2, Queens 5, and Queens 8, as a part of our Make Compost Not Trash outreach campaign. This means that we are going to aim for a few goals. One of them is objectively, we want people participating in the brown bin program. We want everybody who has a brown bin to be using it to the fullest extent. We want everybody who has one that's still sitting in their backyard untouched to investigate a little bit and start sending it out with their neighbors. And we want to make sure everybody in this district knows that you can put meat, bones, dairy, tea bags, coffee filters, so much more than I think most people realize is able to go in the brown bin and be turned into compost. So that is one of our goals, more material on the trucks. Another is we're engaging volunteers for the first time, because the 3 of them and a few of us in the office are not nearly enough to knock on the thousands of homes in this district, which is a big part of what we do. We go door-to-door canvassing, and we ask people, what do you think of this program? What are your challenges with it? Do you need a new bin? We can replace it. Are you worried about smell? We've got some tips and tricks to avoid that. These 3 are absolute professionals at that. In the back, they're giving out leaf bags right now, lawn and leaf bags, so you can set out your extra yard waste, your leaves, anything that's not food but still eligible to go in. If your bin overflows, set it out in these bags on your collection day, and it'll get picked up and composted just the same. One non-compost related update we have is the bag ban that's going into effect. We have flyers talking about how plastic bags will be banned. That will go into effect March 1st. And there will be a 5-cent fee on paper bags. This is applicable to grocery stores, a lot of retail shops. You'll notice it. Over time, probably, you will still realize that smaller shops are still using plastic bags. It's not okay, but we're really going to ease into it and start enforcing as soon as that March 1st date happens. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to talk to you afterwards. Tanya is handing out leaf bags. They're in sleeves of 5. Another thing is, you may have noticed that apartment buildings with more than 10 units did not automatically get enrolled in the program. That doesn't mean you can't participate. It just means your building is large and has specific needs. One bin is not going to cut it for 10 units. A building with 10 units does not have the same needs as a building with 100. So we have this thing we call an enrollment postcard. It's got the bin right on it. It gives you the link for a form to fill out online that puts you in touch with us. At the end of the day, you'll need somebody like a building manager, a superintendent, a board member, somebody with decision-making capabilities to sign off on it, but anyone, even a resident, can make their initial request. We'll reach out to whatever contact information you give us. We'll conduct a site visit, determine how many bins you need, anywhere from 2 to 100 if need be. And then we'll get you added to a route, and you'll be good to go composting with the rest of your district. Another thing we have is this very helpful bookmark. It has little diagrams of everything that's eligible for our recycling streams, but more importantly on the back it has a link to all the questions for programs that DSNY offers. So if you've ever wondered what to do with your electronics and have found trouble Googling it, there's a link that brings you exactly to that information. Same with clothing and textiles, harmful products like paint, and the very last link is a link to order all of these materials and so much more straight to your door, straight to your community organization. Whatever you need, we will ship it to you for free, of course. So my big asks of you tonight are you involved in community groups? If we're not already working with you, can you introduce yourselves to us? We will be chatting up anybody with a smile. We want contacts. We want to be doing more cleanups. We want to be doing more street tree care events where we remove litter and apply compost, teach residents how to apply compost. Because it's one thing to say put the material in the brown bin, and it's another to show you what it looks like a few months later with what you've done because you made the choice to separate it. So in the fall, we were conducting leaf rakes. Come spring, we'll be doing the same thing in parks all over the place. We'll be doing park cleanups, same thing, removing litter, taking care of those trees, and applying compost. And we also do really fun events because we're trying to make sure that people are as interested in what we're doing as we are. So Monday night at the Footlight Bar, we will be doing compost trivia. It is medium difficulty. If you've never heard of the ins and outs of soil science, you'll still be able to get by. And I highly recommend checking it out as an entry point to figuring out what this program is all about. We also do compost happy hours where you'll be able to talk and chat with people about our work, about other people in the field, and about some of the issues you might be having with your brown bins. And if you're interested in volunteering but you're not quite sure you're capable, we've been doing major volunteer trainings. We offer them in Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and even Manhattan if you work in Manhattan and can't make it to some of our Queens-based events that start at 6. So we are really trying to reach as many people as possible. We are trying to teach you how to answer pretty common questions that we get. We are trying to teach you how to most effectively have a conversation at a door in those 5 seconds you have before somebody says, I'm sorry, I have to go make dinner, and closes the door. We totally understand, but that data is really helpful to us. That being said, I want to give you a chance to ask me any questions. Please keep it compost related, as that's my role. I'm an outreach coordinator. And if there are other DSNY related questions, I have some contacts I can put you in touch with from the Bureau of Community Affairs or maybe on the uniform side, depending on your issue.
Okay, would you reiterate that the bag law, that when it was passed, when it goes into effect, and what it means? Because I know it will be good for us. Our neighbors will not be putting their garbage on the street corners with the plastic bags. Okay.
So the first distinction I'll make is the difference between a carry-out plastic bag, single use, like you get at the grocery store, and a garbage pail liner. I think that's a concern people have, is what are we going to put our waste in? So you will still be able to purchase those thick plastic liners at a grocery store that are intentionally made for garbage. The clear ones that you put your recycling in, the black ones that you put your refuse in, those will still be available for purchase in whatever stores you're currently buying them in. This mainly targets supermarkets and other large retail stores that are giving you a single-use bag every time you buy something, for as small as a bar of soap or chapstick to an entire load of groceries. The 5-cent fee on paper bags is just a reminder to bring your own bags. So it's a small penalty, but it's a penalty nonetheless. That being said, it will not, residents who are using SNAP or WIC to buy their groceries will not be asked to pay that fee. Those are the main keys. And a major exception that I think we get a lot of questions about is takeout. If you order food directly to your door, it can still come in one of those single-use bags, but you will feel it the most at grocery stores when you will not be able to carry out 18 plastic bags.
So is there a program for groceries and supermarkets to notify their customers that this is happening?
Is there a program? I'm not quite sure in the sense that you're asking. There's definitely a lot of outreach happening. We have a commercial team with about a dozen people who does a lot of outreach at major chains and smaller stores as well, all over the city, making sure that this message is getting out there. And then it would be on the store themselves to advertise that. In fact, on the train ride today, I saw a Subway ad about it. So residents should be seeing things like that, especially in the next month or so, as we're leading up to March 1st. That should give you enough of a heads up. If not, we are also going to be giving out our orange reusable bags. We are in the process of reaching out to elected officials, community boards, boards to start distributing those bags along with this flyer to make sure that everybody knows they're not just getting a free bag, they're getting something that they should and could use at the grocery store.
Will you be leaving a supply at our office?
Not tonight. I don't have any on me, but that is the plan, is that all community boards and elected officials will
Thank
have a
you.
stash.
Any board members? Yes.
I just wanted to know I just want to know if that orange thing lists all the things that you could put in those brown pails that I have that I never use.
Yes.
Okay, great.
These stickers do have a pretty good telling of meat, bones, dairy. Those are some of the things we get asked about the most. And some of the food-soiled paper products, like napkins, you can absolutely put in your brown bin. Pizza boxes, where you've been told that the grease is not enough to put, is a deterrent to put it in the paper, you can put that whole box in the brown bin, and it will get turned into compost.
I can pick them up at the community board office. Okay, thank you.
In fact, the dry material that you put in there, be it pizza boxes or dry leaves, do wonders for reducing odors. So if you are having problems with that, be sure to cut your brown bin with something dry, like paper towels, newspapers, things that will still break down, but make it less.
I have no garbage. I have compost and recycling. I cheat a little once in a while, but especially with the plastic bags.
That's the dream.
It works. Yes.
The green bags that you used to put in those compost.
Microphone, please.
The biodegradable bags?
Yeah, they're still allowed, those green bags? Or
Absolutely. So you can line your brown bin with a plastic clear liner, the same you use for recycling. You can line it with a paper bag. You can line it with a biodegradable bag.
Okay.
You cannot line it at all if you are committed to cleaning it out.
Okay.
But the only thing that is not allowed is a black garbage bag. It's a little bit of a mixed signal for the sanitation workers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Richie, the microphone.
Hello? Yes. Curious, all of the compost, where does that get sent to get composted?
Sure. It's a different answer depending on which part of the city you're in, and honestly, even within sections of a community board district. So I can't give you an exact address, but we have roughly 12 regional facilities. We have one in Staten Island, one in Soundview in the Bronx. We have a few in upstate New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, all within, I think, 200 miles of New York City is where it's going. And it's going by barge, and it's going by truck, and it's going by rail.
Yes.
In fact, back in October, we opened up our Staten Island facility for the first time to the public. We plan on doing something similar in the spring. So even if your organic waste isn't ending up in Staten Island, it's a cool opportunity to check out what the machinery looks like, to how we separate the bags, and get just the organic material, what it looks like over the next few months as it goes from food scraps to healthy, nutritious compost.
I saw another hand. Who's that? Microphone?
Gotcha.
No?
Years ago, we received a composting barrel, which I still have, but unfortunately, it's starting to disintegrate itself from use. Do they still supply them?
I don't know if I know what you're referencing, so I'm going to assume not. But is it like a tumbler?
No, it's not a tumbler. It was just like a large garbage bag, not a garbage container that we put it in, and then dirt, and then it had a slide on the bottom that you took the compost out.
Oh, I see.
I don't think it was.
That was a special program for composting.
Okay.
Okay, so they don't do that anymore.
We don't still give those out, but we do have plenty of literature. If you're worried about upkeep and maintenance, we probably have some tip sheets on how to manage it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I've
One
seen
more?
I have a question. Is there any chance that Governor Cuomo delays this again, as he did last year for the 5-cent bag?
Unfortunately, my job is just outreach, so I'm not involved in those kinds of conversations. I think anything is possible in terms of timeline. I'm not sure. If I had one, I would happily give notice, but my guess is as good as yours.
I have another question.
Your guess.
As for the 5 cents that supermarkets are going to be charging for the bags, where do those 5 cents go after? Do supermarkets keep the 5 cents, or does it have to get sent back to the city?
That is a good question. I don't have an answer for it, but I know how to find one. If you want to give me your business card, I can email you an answer tomorrow. Perfect. Or even I can email higher up and have that sent out to everybody.
Let us know. Send it to them.
Totally.
We'll distribute.
Just a note on that. The last legislation I read on that, the 5 cents goes to the supermarket.
Okay.
It does not go back to the city.
Okay.
Unless something changed.
I will check into that.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time. We're going to hang around for questions. We've got plenty of stuff to give out, new recycling stickers if your bin is looking a little grungy, and information if you live in apartment buildings. So please follow up with us. I have business cards as well. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item of business is the public forum. Again, I try to reiterate, no personal attacks, no foul language, no off-the-cuff accusations and things like that. So the first speaker is Anthony Vucic. Are you here? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, the other rule is no more than 3 minutes to each speaker. Bob Cermelli. Three minutes, yes.
Good evening, everybody. I was at a meeting last month, and they were talking about the census, and they told me it'd be a good idea to speak to you guys about the census and give you some bulletins about it because it's coming up very soon. It comes up only once every 10 years, and there's a lot of things involved with this. So I'm just going to give you some bulletins because you only have 3 minutes. So let me just start reading some of these things. What is the census? It's a count of people in this country. It's a constitutional requirement that we count the people in this country. It's conducted by the U.S. Census Bureau. It's a nonpartisan government agency. In 2020, census counts the population in all 50 states and various districts of this country. Each home will receive an invitation to respond with a short questionnaire, online, phone, or mail. This is the first time you could do it online, by the way. This is something new. It will mark the first time responding, as I said, online. The census provides critical data. Lawmakers, business owners, teachers, and many others use this data for their own use. When you could get this data. Some people pay for this data, but they don't realize you could actually get it from the Census Bureau. And this data can be important if you open up a new business or something like that. Another important thing is, and I think we lost a seat last time. Because we were undercounted. Now, we could have been undercounted because we undercounted, or it could have been that there was a less population in our particular area. But they do draw congressional lines based on the population. And more importantly, you might also say, it's money. You get the federal funds to pay for hospitals, sometimes fire departments, healthcare systems. And as a chair of the Health and Services Committee, I've seen 5 hospitals close in this county of Queens. So, you want federal funds when you have the population here. A lot of populations are going to be afraid to actually do the census. Some may be immigrants and what have you, and they're frightened. Maybe they're unrecorded immigrants or what have you. But if they're here and they're living here, their information is going to be private. It's by law, it must be private. It must be anonymous. You will be part of the census as an aggregate, so that you'll be part of a statistical number, but they won't give you the individual information they get from you. April 1st is going to be the big number. That's when you're living at a particular place at a particular time. It depends on that April 1st. That's the key number. And there's a lot of technology going on to this. They actually got pictures of houses and streets, and they're having people right now go out and actually check these things. That's my 3 minutes, but I just wanted to give you a bulletin. Get out there and tell your friends there is the census. It's very important to get out there and encourage them to do it. And you guys, I know you're going to do it, but tell your people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Marianne Latanzio.
Good evening, Board, and Happy New Year. I'm here to oppose the MTA's rerouting of the Q18 and the Q67 in Maspeth. They want to reroute it off of 65th Place onto 69th Street to Roosevelt Avenue for the 7 train, which is not handicap accessible. No access to the LIRR. We have a lot of people in the co-ops on 65th Place that count on that bus to get them to the train and to their doctors and to whatever place they have to go. We need to go to that meeting, everyone who's from Maspeth, and support not to have them change this route. It is imperative that Maspeth keep that Q18 and 67 running for people to get to school, to work, and to handicap accessible trains. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jennifer Rajkumar.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Rajkumar from Woodhaven. I want to stop by tonight to introduce myself to those of you I haven't yet met. I'm running for State Assembly. I'm running against Michael Miller. And I wanted to especially stop by because I know everyone on the board, if you devote this much time, this is really a labor of love. And so I really respect all the work that you do, and I'm eager to learn from you and hear about the issues of concern and let you know that I'm always here, eager to work with you. I have read the annual report with great interest that the board has put out, and I follow all of your committee reports, and I so respect the level of detail, granular detail and expertise that you have on all these issue areas. A little bit about me is that I'm a professor at CUNY. I used to work for the governor of New York. I'm an attorney, and I'm just very eager to bring energy and strong leadership to the district. I know there's so many issues tonight, so I don't really want to take up much time, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I look forward to hearing what everyone says, and please come talk to me if you're interested in working on issues or sharing information. And I'm going to leave my flyers here so that if you want to get in touch, you can do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is John Ortiz.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. I'm the owner of Sundown Barn, Forest Avenue in Catalpa, and I'm here to answer any concerns or questions regarding our expansion to the cellar space. I have all our DOB-approved plans, and I'll be in the back table to address any of that if anybody would like to approach regarding that. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last speaker is Shrut Marti. I hope I didn't mess that up too badly.
Good evening, everyone. I am Shruti Murthy. I work with the United States Department of Commerce, Bureau of the Census. The gentleman a few minutes before me has pretty much done a good chunk of my work here today in talking about the census. We are reaching out to all 5 boroughs in Manhattan. As many of you may know, in 2010, the borough of Queens was severely undercounted. New York, as a whole state, lost 2 seats in Congress, in the House of Representatives, as a result of a low count. So this time around for 2020, we're definitely getting out there and trying to reach all community boards and all community organizations to not only educate everyone about the census, but also its importance and how it does affect not only our communities, but our city and our state as a whole. So not to take up too much time, but we have a table back here with some more information. We are also recruiting heavily right now for field operations, and if anyone is interested or knows anyone who might be interested, I have a lot of people that come to me and just ask, you know what, I have a full-time job, but I just want to do something to help out with the census. And I let them know that we are hiring in the field. It's absolutely vital that we try to get an accurate count this time for 2020, and I hope that Community Board 5, along with the Census Bureau, can partner up to make this goal attainable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have an answer to your question if you'd like. Susan knows. If you want an answer to the 5 cents, if you have an extra minute.
So, sorry, I'll be quick. Just for the question about where the 5 cents for the bags goes. So 3 of the cents goes towards a state environmental fund, and the other 2 cents go back to the city towards buying bags and redistributing the ones that they have.
So if I get this correct, you require the supermarket or store to buy bags, sell them to a customer for 5 cents, and give that 5 cents back. So the store is losing money and it's costing them employee time and energy.
So,
why would they even participate?
I'm not totally sure about that, but from my understanding, the 2 cents from it are going back to buying those bags for the stores.
Okay, so we'll leave that aside.
Okay.
So they get nothing for handling the bags, putting them out, collecting the money, and sending it back to the city and state.
I'm not sure about that.
I don't think it's going to work. Thank you.
Okay.
I know. I mean, legislators, if you're anyone here representing a legislator, try reading the bills you write and sign. Okay? Thank you. The next item of business, and we're even ahead of time. My goodness. Is the chairperson's report, and that's me, Vincent Arcuri, chairperson. So several of the community board chairs in Queens County, at least, decided that our board members should be identified pretty much as the council members, the assembly persons, the senators, the congresspersons, and several of us have designed individual lapel pins. So tonight, board members, you should have all received your official Community Board 5 lapel pin. Now, typically you wear them to meetings, you wear them to civic associations, you wear it when you go to Borough Hall or City Hall, and it's a recognition that you are a representative of the overall community and a board person. So thank you, Laura, for distributing. And I hope you like the design because I designed it. Thank you. Excuse me. I usually... It's all Edgar's fault. It's Edgar's fault. Okay, so tonight, our staff members present tonight, Gary Giordano, Kathy O'Leary, and Laura Mulvihill. Representing the borough president is Joe Nasarino. Is she here yet? All right, so in a few minutes, Sharon Lee, the acting borough president, will be here and will introduce her. In the meantime, from the 104th Precinct, we have police officers Sanad, Lee, Berish, and Abandalo. Who's speaking? All of you? Step up to the mic, please.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. Good to see everyone. Hope everyone had a safe and healthy holidays. I'm glad it's over. Just to recap, I guess, being that it's week 1 of the new year, so I can give you numbers, but they're not going to make any difference because we're only in week 1, obviously. Overall, grand larceny is what drove our crime up last year, and that's all stuff that you hear me speak about all the time, us speak about all the time. Mainly the telephone stands, unattended property, leaving valuables in your car are all things that could be prevented. So a lot of the crime that takes place here is all preventable. Don't leave the iPad in the car, headsets in the car. The phone stems, they're still going around. We just ask that if you could educate your friends and family. If you don't know the number, don't pick up the phone. If it's the IRS, They're not going to contact you asking you for money that way. Social Security will only contact you by the mail. If you're not sure and you want to double check, don't call the number that they're leaving you on your voicemail. Go down in person and talk to them in person. What are the other ones?
Just also keep in mind that they've been using numbers that are very similar to numbers that you guys know, so don't be fooled by that either, and just don't bother answering them.
Yeah. And if they say they're from the NYPD or law enforcement, we will not contact you to solicit you for any type of funds. So keep your money. I'm trying to think, there was another. Oh, no one's going to ask you to purchase a gift card or an Apple iTunes card and ask you to put funds on that card and then deliver it. All a scam, all false. So those are all things that contribute to the grand larcenies, because the amount of money and the way that the crime is being done is all falls under the category of grand larceny. So that's why grand larcenies are always driving us here in the 104. So a lot of it could be prevented, is preventable. However, we do need your help. If you just educate your friends, families, neighbors, just word of mouth, that will all help hopefully drive down some of the crime. Other than that, thank you. Have a happy New Year. And that's it. We'll see you. All the meetings are starting back up, so I know all the civic meetings. We'll be seeing everyone start the new year. All right?
Thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
So it's interesting about the phone calls. We had an elderly woman come in the office this morning. She had a phone call about removing the lead paint in her multiple dwelling house, and she wanted to know what she should do. She tried calling back, hitting the numbers, but it didn't work. And it took me, 20 minutes to explain to her, no one is going to call you. It's a scam. So I go home, taking down all my Christmas decorations and taking my afternoon nap, and I get 2 Social Security phone calls. So, they're doing it. It's the season, so be careful. All right. The next speaker is Representative Nydia Velazquez, Rep. Julio Salazar. Julio, please.
Good evening, everyone. Again, Julio Salazar, Congresswoman Nydia Velazquez's office. I'll be very quick today. Firstly, Happy New Year to everyone. Hopefully, we can continue to work together with the board this 2020. Just one quick piece of announcement. I know at the last community board, or in the November community board, I mentioned a piece that was on the members' agenda, which was the Community Reinvestment Act and the regulatory reforms that were pending then. Unfortunately, several regulatory agencies and the regulators still haven't come to terms as to what the plan should be to reform the Community Reinvestment Act. However, the member will continue to pursue and push through the Subcommittee on Finance sensible reforms to the CRA. This is of major importance, like I shared in November. These are, the CRA will dictate the amount of investment that comes to low to middle income neighborhoods. There are many areas within the CRA that fall within CD7, Congressional District 7. So this is of major importance to the member. She's going to continue to push forward the concerns that she's hearing from some of the advocates, from community members on the subcommittee. And if there's any updates as to what the final plan is and what the final reforms will be, I'll of course share that with the board, either through an email, through an announcement, or here at the community board meeting. But other than that, again, Happy New Year to everyone. We're located over at 260 Broadway. Phone number is 718-664-5149. Thank you.
Thank you. Representing Congresswoman Grace Meng is Christian Romero, whom I want to personally thank for helping out a family friend with some business. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy New Year, everyone. It's been an incredibly busy first session for the 116th Congress. Now that we're rolling back in, I just wanted to let you know there were 400 bills passed in the House of Representatives. 275 of those were bipartisan support, so that's good. The Appropriations Committee fully funded the census for 2020, so shout out to the census people. And lastly, I just wanted to report one quick bill that I think is extremely important. H.R. 3, Lower Prescription Costs Now Act. The Congresswoman voted for this passage of H.R. 3. It would lower drug prices, including insulin and other life-saving and life-sustaining drugs, provide dental, vision, and hearing benefits in Medicare. This does not exist right now. Provide $10 billion to fight opioid crisis, and provide $10 billion for community health centers. That's it for me. Happy New Year again, and have a great night.
Thank you. Representing Councilmember Bob Holden, Charlie Vavruska.
Hello. The Councilmember Holden wanted me to tell all of you that there's going to be a street renaming for Jack Swarens on 82nd Avenue and Myrtle Avenue this on Saturday, January 11th at 2 p.m., and everybody is invited to attend that. The council member also wanted me to tell you that he's looked at a bus plan redesign, and he feels that our community has lost too many buses, and he's upset also that they're not coming to Maspeth or Middle Village for a meeting with the community about these loss of transportation. And if the bus plan stands the way it is right now and they don't make any changes, the council member will be totally against that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, representing Senator Adabo is Sarah Spillman.
Hello, everyone. Ooh, sorry about that. Happy New Year, everyone. As my boss gets back to work up in Albany, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns about any legislation that might be up in Albany this coming session, feel free to contact my office. I can give you my phone number. It's 718-497-1630. Other than that, I'll be hanging out in the back for a while. So,
thank you. Representing Assemblymember Hevesy is Kevin Wisniewski.
Good evening, everyone. Kevin Wisniewski with Assemblyman Hevesy's office. Just a few quick announcements tonight. First is that we recently had 3 bills signed into law by Governor Cuomo. 2 of them are related to ensuring that certain social workers and child care providers are trained in adverse childhood experiences, so they can identify trauma in the children they provide for, and and better understand them and provide comprehensive services. And the 3rd bill creates a new mechanism that allows survivors of domestic violence to terminate leases that are held in the names of their abuser, which provides them with a chance to leave unsafe conditions without having to incur undue financial burdens. Lastly, I just want to report that we were able to collect over 50 gift packages for mothers that are either homeless or facing homelessness in our drive towards the end of 2019. So just want to thank everybody that contributed, and look forward to working with everybody in 2020. Thanks.
Thank you. Representing Assemblymember Barnwell is Leslie Hareb.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. First of all, Brian and myself and our entire office wants to wish everybody a happy, a safe, and prosperous New Year. As always, feel free to reach out to us with any questions or concerns about anything. Today was the first day of session, and Brian is up there, so any legislative questions, he'll be here to give more updates as time goes on. Just 2 quick things. We'll be starting peanut butter and jelly making again, as we usually do every month. So if you want to come volunteer and help make food for the needy, or if you have anyone that that needs to fulfill any service hours from school or in general, we always have service projects, so helping shovel snow for seniors. We're often out till 6 a.m. With just the 3 of us, so send anyone our way. And we're wrapping up the coat drive that we were having, so if you have any coats that you could donate, you can drop them off our office for the next week or so. Okay. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Representing Assemblymember Nolan is Allison Cummings.
Happy New Year, everyone. I have no specific announcements. However, there's been a lot of discussion about the bus map redesign. There's going to be a whole public comment session. If you need help filling out the forms, or if you want to go online and do it, or if you want us to get in contact with MTA for you or with you, please call the office. We're gonna have everything laid out nice and neat. And there are several ways that the MTA is planning to roll out public commentary. So if you need anything in that regard, please give the office a call. And anything you have, any questions about session as it just started, please, again, give the office a call or shoot us an email. Thanks very much.
And representing Assemblymember Miller is Christine Stoll.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christine Stoll. I'm here on behalf of Assemblyman Mike Miller. First of all, just want to wish you all a Happy New Year. Session did start today, so if you have any questions or anything about bills or legislation, you can call the office directly and speak with me as I handle the legislation for the member. Also, I will be attending the Friday's bus redesign meeting, so if you have any specific questions on what buses will be temporarily suspended, please call the office and I can give you some more information on that. Finally, Assemblyman Miller is sponsoring his 11th annual Valentine's for Veterans event. You can drop off any clothing or toiletries at our office, as well as we have other drop-off locations. Thank you to Gary and Vinny for allowing CB5 to be one of the drop-off locations. We're collecting until Monday, February 3rd. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the interim borough president of Queens, because she's not acting. She's fully Sharon Lee. Sharon?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everyone. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I just want to come by and say hello to certainly our board members, but of course members of the community. If you don't know me, my name is Sharon Lee, as was introduced. I am serving as officially the acting borough president, now that the Honorable Melinda Katz is our new district attorney, very first female elected as the chief law enforcement officer of the county of Queens. And so last several months we've made a lot of history in this borough. We should be very proud of that in our borough. But I wanted to take this opportunity to say hello, turn faces to names, names to faces, and I look forward to working with you during the duration of this short term. If you have any questions, you can reach me. Of course, many of you, or all of you, should know my colleague Joe Nocerino. And you know how to find us at Borough Hall. We're just trying to make sure that the train is running on time. We just got back from the State of the State address by the governor up in Albany. He had some very ambitious priorities that he laid out for the upcoming legislative session. And so we're very excited. Some of that is going to affect the borough of Queens. So we'll be talking more about that in the coming days. And so we look forward to seeing you on Monday, Mr. Chairman. We'll be talking about the Queens Library Board. The library capital projects were a substantial priority of former Borough President Melinda Katz, and we're going to make sure that those priorities come to fruition with plenty of groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings in the coming months. Anyways, thank you very much. Happy New Year, and I look forward to speaking and working with you.
Thank you. 1 second. I'd like to present you with an official Community Board 5 lapel pin. You'll get it. We'll get you one.
For the record, this is my first lapel pin as a civilian of Queens, and so I'm proud to accept this from Community District Board 5. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very good. Take care. You'll get one, Joe. I'd like to recognize two of the press corps that are here today, David Russell from the Chronicle and Benjamin Fong from the Queens Ledger. Thank you for what you do for us. Walter Sanchez has a report from the last Borough Board meeting. Walter?
All right, so don't shoot the messenger here, but I represented the board at the borough board meeting last week, and they went over primarily the plan, the MTA and the DOT, the new bus network, the redesign, and the narrative they'd like us to use, and it took a little while for us to get used to it, is like, we're not changing bus routes, we're scrapping all the bus routes and starting from scratch. So our district here, probably the way it looked, and they gave an idea of what the design is, I'll leave this up here, probably has more turns than most other districts. But what they want to do is have fewer stops, so they'll be wider apart, and they want to have straighter routes to subways. They feel that will, and buses not really going down side streets that might not have, are meant for buses, like J Avenue, the Q67, might be the answer. However, they're going to have some public workshops. They're calling them tabletop exercises to provide input. We're having a meeting here. We're the first meeting, and that's at the Greater Richmond Youth Council on January 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. And our committee will be there. Our transportation committee will be there. We can make comments and look at it and see what we think. But the idea is to get to the subways faster. Whether it's there's an express bus route that goes up to the Bronx, up to the Bronx Zoo. It's supposed to save 10 minutes from what it was now. So, look at it with open eyes. We were pretty skeptical. The board chairs were a little bit skeptical. But, it does make sense. They're putting the bike lanes in and bus lanes all over the place. And, there seems to be a lot of traffic, so something has to be done. There are going to be fewer bus miles. There just are. There are going to be fewer bus miles and fewer buses on the road and fewer stops. So there'll be 5 blocks between stops as opposed to maybe 3 that you'll see now along Grand Avenue. That's all I have to say. It was pretty informative, about an hour. MTA, DOT, they were put on the spot and kind of explain themselves, but they'll be at these meetings. So I encourage you to come to the meeting and talk about it and take a look at it first before you have comments. Yes?
Kathy's got hold on. Kathy, first question.
Walter.
Microphone.
Sorry. Don't anyone use this after me. Walter, they're caging these as workshops?
Yes.
I mean, then is this a public hearing? Where are we going with this? Because I looked at it from Glendale, and Marianne has looked at it from Maspeth, and we don't have great public transportation in Glendale. And the one bus that goes to the express train is now being eliminated, the 23. Mm-hmm. The 47, which takes care of the kids going to Jackson Heights and all along 80th Street, that's out. Good thing that it's no longer going through Atlas, which was a waste of time. So how much input do we have? We have things, simple things that can be done. I understand that they don't want to stop every block, but we have buses, express buses, blowing by Glendale coming from Howard Beach, which if they just stop at Metropolitan and Woodhaven for the 16, I think the 17, the 18, they all come down. That would really increase transportation for us. We don't have much.
They talked about at length at the meeting. They talked about which routes have a lot of ridership, which lose money. They have to subsidize. What we got from it is that I think the community board's recommendations are going to be very, very, very important to this process. And they took us seriously. The MTA was there. They take us seriously. The DOT, Jason, we all know Jason. He was at many meetings here from the DOT. He's the deputy commissioner.
John has some.
Can I just contribute one thing?
Sure.
You asked about kind of scale, like what is the actual kind of timeline of this? They came out at the end of December with a this plan, this draft plan. But before that, they had also given an evaluation, and you can find all these documents online, an evaluation of current conditions and current statistics and how this system is running. They were asked by the MTA, New York City Transit, to look at it as revenue neutral. So they are adding services like out in farther eastern Queens, but they have to balance that by looking at other places and possibly removing services in other places. I'm not being an advocate for that. I'm just saying that's kind of one of their approaches to this. This is the first draft. They're looking at it for 2 months. The timeline is on the web. They have a form on the web that you can submit any kind of comments. Any of your lines that you're talking about now, they're using some of those same numbers for other lines that don't match at all. So be very aware of what you're talking about. It is. It's scrapped, and they're reusing numbers, but you got to really talk about like specific lines with the new terminology when you're giving them feedback. And for the next 2 months, they're going to be looking at these workshops, and then they're going to come back with a final draft, which will then take some more feedback probably, and then they'll come back with the plan itself, which will go into implementation roughly 2021.
Okay.
John?
Yeah, well, I applaud the idea of not going down side streets, which are so narrow. I was just wondering, because you said that, or you made it seem like the main design of buses is to take riders to train stations.
Yeah.
And that's hard. I became a certified transportation expert, I guess, for disabled people. And a lot of disabled people or elderly people can't go up and down the stairs for trains. And for them, the goal isn't to get from a bus to a train, is to get from a bus to the destination.
You know, the challenges in this district, and if you look at a subway map, we're barren over here. It's a desert. The challenges for this district are very, very different than anywhere else where there is subway, all over the city. So I really do believe, and I'm glad they're doing it first here, because I do believe that this is going to take a whole different look than any other bus, any other areas in the entire city, actually. Joe, you wanted to say something?
Thank you. And yes, what John had mentioned about the timeline, there's going to be 2 full months of this. But what I really wanted to say at this moment, this coming Friday, all the elected officials from Queens are coming into Borough Hall, and Andy Byford will be there, plus all the bus engineers, and it will be an all-day process, and they've broken it down into sections of Queens, because as you can imagine, buses run, through different areas, and any and all questions and concerns of each area will be spoken directly to your elected officials. They're all going to be in on Friday. And then from there, I think there's already 13 workshops that they've set up throughout the borough. My office, people are shooting bus line concerns into me. I'm making sure it's in front of them. It is a longer process. It is a draft, and they will be taking a lot of input. So, but I wanted you guys to know that the electeds are in and involved very early on.
Very good. Okay.
John. I know you stay neutral on this, but as the chair of transportation, I really think that we have to get in front of this Community Board 5. And it's important that we meet and we all know when the meeting is. And, from a personal perspective, I made an attempt not to drive and take public transportation in and out of Manhattan. Disastrous from Glendale. It gave me no choice. It pushed me back in a car. So I really would like to see this work, and so that cars are off the street and we are able to take a bus or a train. And what I see happening right now, it's just going to make it a little more difficult, and hence more cars. And I know that's not the intent, but it's the reality of it.
There's definitely things that we need to look at and give feedback on. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing that. And we are trying to line up a presentation to our committee directly from the team. Hopefully that will happen at our February meeting. I'm going to be present at the one in Ridgewood on the 21st. I would say to everybody, look at the MTA schedule on their website, go to any of the meetings. There is, like I said, a form. Put in your feedback. Make it productive. I mean, honestly, as Walter has pointed out, one of the things that we really do need to look at is speeding buses up to make them more desirable. And one of those points is kind of repositioning the stops, which I think they've very well addressed. So we need to tell them when we think they've done something right. We also need to tell them where we think they've missed an opportunity. RQ39, if you look on the current proposed map, there's nothing below Myrtle Avenue right now. Part of that is that they haven't looked at Brooklyn yet. They're just starting the preliminary on Brooklyn right now. They have done Staten Island and the Bronx, but those weren't as all-encompassing as Walter said. This one, they actually said, we're just going to wipe it clean and start fresh. With the Bronx and Staten Island, it was really kind of just tweaking and looking at a few significant lines. So this is a different approach to it. I think they're going to take that same kind of approach and move it to Brooklyn and do the same thing there. We might see a little bit of improvement below this. I honestly want to say that the Q58 and what they're looking at doing is a wonderful thing, because they're actually going to break it into two lines, one that gets you super fast over to Flushing and in central parts of Queens with very minimal stops, and then another one that follows more or less the old local route and diverges a little bit at the end, but it's still also a little bit more expedited and better for us.
Yeah, both routes go along Grand Avenue, too.
You know, we could take this as the golden opportunity to get the right setup for Community Board 5 and not miss this.
Fred?
So even though we might be looking at less buses, we're probably looking at more bus lanes? Is that we're not going to lose any bus lanes, probably, and there's a good chance we're going to get more bus lanes.
Are there more bus lanes? Can we get any more bus lanes?
Yeah, because I think that's on the book. Who sells the paint for those?
This is, honestly, this is an MTA NYCT plan. It does give recommendations, but it does not necessarily call for any specific action by the city. The city then will have to follow on. That plan from the city is already starting to be put in place, and that's the Bus Forward, which has its own publication, and you can find that on the DOT website.
Okay. Thank you. Yes?
There's one more.
We have.
They did all this research and they didn't come to a conclusion, is what you're saying?
No, they did the research. They did some more proposal, and now they're looking for feedback on their first iteration.
So this is not a proposal, and there's not a clock ticking on this?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Always.
Just wanted to bring that out.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll continue. Yes?
I'm just curious, how come they would reroute the Q18 on 69th Street and Roosevelt when it's not handicap accessible instead of 61st Street and 65th Place, which is a big enough street? I'm all for not going down the side streets, but you got elevators there for the handicap, you got escalators there for the handicap, so I don't understand where they're coming from with that part.
Okay. So we have to advise them. Right now, we're doing committee work again.
We'll address it. We'll address it.
This is the things we need to hear from everyone. Okay, so little business, we didn't take care of the minutes. Anyone have anything to say on the minutes?
Okay, there's an error on the minutes where they listed me as second vice president of the community council. I am second vice president of the Civilian Observation Patrol GCOP and not the community council, which is a different organization.
Thank you. Anything else on the minutes? That's corrected? That's corrected. Fred seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Any objections? Okay. Liquor, wine, and beer license application renewals. New liquor license. Panini, Inc., doing business as Joe Dollars, 6838 Forest Avenue, Storefront A. Sports Club of Glendale Corp., doing business as Sports Club of Glendale, 7403 Myrtle Avenue. Baby Johnson's Cafe Corporation, doing business as Baby Johnson's, 1684 Woodbine. Liquor license renewals. Cahill Enterprise, Inc., doing business as Glen Patrick's Pub, 537365 Place. Chicken Soup and Rice, LLC, doing business as Sundown Bar, 6838 Forest Avenue. We Are 138 LLC, doing business as Sweet Jane's, 6402 68 Avenue. London Lenny's, 6388 to 6396 Woodhaven Boulevard. Hungry Burrito, Inc., doing business as Hungry Burrito, 811 Seneca Avenue. El Nuevo Hogue Restaurant, 689 Seneca Avenue. Rogna LLC, 63-59 Forest Avenue. New Wine Indoor Beer License. Jojo Kitchen and Bakery, Inc., 883 Cypress Avenue. Wine and beer license renewals. Green Bay Partners, LLC, doing business as Peter Gyro and Grill, 6639 Fresh Pond Road. Others, Coyote, Bohemio, Inc., notified us of a use of method operation change to add a small customer bar and rearrange the layout of tables and chairs. Palace of Zulu, Inc., 913 Wyckoff Avenue, notified us of corporate change whereby Maria Mejia will replace Fabian Castillo as principal corporate. And those of you who are maybe questioning what's going on at 6838 Forest Avenue, the building alteration application for the cellar occupancy has been filed and approved. There are multiple licenses at that location. We've asked the building department to look into it further to see how it fits zoning-wise and construction-wise, because it appeared to us that the secondary means of egress out of the cellar bar restaurant area was exiting through another business establishment on the first floor, which is permitted if it's designated as an area of refuge. But that particular facility only has one means of egress. So there would be two separate exiting requirements coming out of one place. So we've asked them to look into that. And that's that. Any questions or comments? Okay. It's that time of year. There's the street fairs that we know that are happening. April 20th is the Myrtle Avenue Ridgewood Festival, sponsored by the Ridgewood Local Development Corporation. September 3rd is the Fresh Pond Street Festival, sponsored by the Federazione. The July 19th is the Myrtle Avenue Festival, sponsored by Glendale Kiwanis. The September 13th is the Myrtle Avenue Festival, sponsored by Myrtle Avenue Business Improvement District. And June 28th is the Grand Avenue Festival, sponsored by the Maspeth Chamber and the Maspeth Lions and Kiwanis Clubs. Okay. Yes.
I think you mentioned, you said
microphone, please.
I believe you said for the Ridgewood Street Fair, you said the 20th of April. It's actually, it's the 19th.
19th, I'm sorry, that's correct.
Okay.
19th. Okay. Mr. Giordano, when he gives his report, we'll talk about the budget and items that we discussed at the executive committee meeting, because he took all the notes and my brain is burned for now. So with that, if there's nothing more, Mr. Giordano, please. I'm sorry? Yeah, sit down.
No, I'm all right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Donald.
Take one and pass that around. I don't have a copy.
That's okay. Just tell them to
You don't have to. Okay. So, yeah, I'm hobbling a little bit. I messed up my foot a while ago and had a x-ray, came up negative. I had an MRI, and it's showing some damage. So I'm wearing a full cam boot for the next 3 weeks. I'm 3 weeks in. So you go a lot slower when you're in this thing. So you have to kind of try to stay off your feet. And for most of you, as you realize, easier said than done. So hopefully I'm healing. Okay. So Happy New Year to all of you. I wish you good health for you and your loved ones, and all year, and a little bit of prosperity plus. And hopefully we can all work together again to keep these neighborhoods good and make them even better. As far as our budget goes for this year, we got an extra $42,500 from the City Council. And we can't use it to hire regular staff, and we can't use it to give staff increases. So I proposed a program last year which is being passed around. And I'm calling it the Respect Program. It was approved by the board last year. I'm very concerned with too much lack of respect for people, especially women in society, and how we hear of all these cases of abuse. And I think we have a significant problem in our own precinct with regard to the number of calls that police officers have to respond to related to the potential for domestic violence. So as I write here, a recent news story, maybe it's not that recent anymore, the USA being the 10th most violent country on earth for women. Not only do I want to focus on, respect and respect for women, but also respect for the environment. And I see too much of an influence in media with regard to promoting bad behavior. And there's things I don't even see. So if this gets approved, I would like to implement it in that I ran into a lot of bureaucracy last year. Previously we had used board money for a graffiti removal program, and it was very successful, but a damper was put on that as far as the bureaucracy of it goes. They're telling me they want us to hire a private contractor, which would be exceedingly expensive. So when we did that graffiti removal program, we had 30,000 removals in 14 years. So we were doing 2,000 paint overs a year. Now I want to do something else. The place that the bureaucracy is not, I think, going to be as much of a problem because they wanted you to hire a consultant, is that now they'll allow you to hire a temporary worker, which we can do through Goodwill Industries. So a woman has been volunteering at the office for over a year. I would like to hire her. Her name is Linda Albello, and she's bilingual, which will be an asset to us because Kathy speaks some Spanish, but Linda speaks fluent Spanish. I think she's Spain Spanish as far as her heritage goes. So that would help with people coming in the office, but also with getting the word out. So if this gets approved, I would like some help in putting together what we will say to try to increase respect in many different areas. And I put it forth to you.
So like I said, this was approved last year. The budget is for $25,125. The worker does not get $25 an hour. They get more like $16, but they'll get their FICA matched, their Social Security and their Medicare payments matched. They still take 7.65% since Ronald Reagan was president, and the fund is going down the drain. And workman's comp's got to be paid for by Goodwill, disability insurance, and I think unemployment as well. And they'll get some sort of an administrative fee. So the other things we're talking about spending money on of that $42,500 is a new photocopier / printer. I budgeted $6,000 for that. We might be able to get one for less, but we want something that's going to last a good amount of time, because we have no assurance that we'll get this money next year. This has been, a year-by-year situation. And an office security system, which we are told is budgeted for $5,000, with video at 3 locations, then you would like?
Well, we discussed it earlier. It's 2 or 3. We're going to discuss it with the vendor because there was some question as to the door hardware.
So the point is, a lot of community boards are having difficulty figuring out how to spend the money without just buying more things that they really don't need. So we bought a big, huge television set for the office, which is, well, to me it is.
It's obsolete now.
Oh, okay. And new computers. So now we're talking about a printer, but there's only so much equipment you can buy. So I don't see how you can do that without doing something programmatically, and this is my idea.
And the rest of the budget, is, so the rest of the budget we tweaked, but we can't put in the budget mods right now. They won't accept them. So as soon as we know when we can put the budget mods in, did everybody get a cop? No.
Motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Accept the budget as written.
And we'll produce it for you. It's seconded? Ted, all in favor? Aye. And we will send it out to you as soon as we know the approval on that particular line. And when we hone in better on the door security. The door security system will be a camera looking at the front door, because, if you visit the office, and I don't know if all of you have come to the office, you can't see the front door from in the office. And the other day, Laura was there by herself. She had to lock herself in, and I had to call her when I got there. And Gary's always there at night. So in today's world, you got to be safe. So that's what we're doing with that. So it'll be a camera on the door, an electric light, 2 monitors, because it was less costly to get the individual, like you have in your apartment, monitor, than to connect the computer to the system. So we'll have 2 of those, and then you could see who's there, speak to them, and then let them in. Okay? All righty. So we'll send that to everyone. Anything else, Mr. G?
Thank you, first of all. So as I said to you, we had a lot of work done in the streets this year as far as resurfacing goes. We have a lot of sewer work that we've gotten done, and more sewer work coming. 96-inch sewer coming into Middle Village, beginning by Juniper Park and going under the railroad tracks. I don't have a timetable for that yet, but some more fun things that are supposed to happen this year is the running track project and the turf field reconstruction at Juniper is supposed to begin fairly early this year. There's supposed to be a new entrance at Forest Park built beginning at Union Turnpike and Myrtle Avenue and going into the park from there. We're hoping to see renovations begin at Star Playground in Ridgewood this year. Rosemary's Playground renovations are pretty much done, right, Mr. Fiedler? So a lot of work. You're just going to see construction all over the city. And, a lot of money is being poured into New York. A lot of foreign money is being poured into New York. And I think that can be an okay thing, and I think that can be a real problem. But the economy here is doing quite well, and that's why we're able to, see a lot of these improvements. So right now we have another big sewer project in Calamus Avenue going up 70th Street toward the LIE. So that's only the beginning of that project, but they're doing micro-tunneling in that project, and that's an enormous sewer project as well. So hopefully, we haven't gotten crazy rains, a lot of rain in a short period of time, but hopefully we're going to be in good shape with these sewer projects that will have more capacity and less potential for street flooding. Any questions? And house flooding. Yeah, even more important is house flooding is right. Because a lot of people's basements, that's why we pushed in Middle Village, because the low point is by Penelope Avenue and 74th Street there. And some people, when it rained crazy, 4.5 inches of rain in 45 minutes or 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes, had 1.5 feet of water in their basement. Yeah. Bob?
I'm getting some complaints from people that had the asphalt.
The microphone? Yeah, the reason why Vinny is a stickler for the microphone is because that's how the tape will pick up best.
Yeah, no, that's how we're podcasting. Hear me now? Okay.
I hear you.
Some people have been complaining that the asphalt that they put over after they do the construction of the sewers is a very poor job. And are they coming back and doing finishing work on these?
Sure. Those streets
that's what I told them.
Not going to stay like that.
Yeah.
Some of the streets are done. And most of those are south of small streets south of Juniper Valley Road.
Yeah.
But 74th Street, Penelope Avenue, those are the two main ones. Yeah, they're in bad shape. If you're driving on Penelope Avenue, if you haven't done it already, I would not suggest more than 5 miles per hour once you get west of 74th Street.
I had one person, they said they asphalt his drain pipe, the outside faucet. Can't use it. But I told him to call you and let you know about it.
Whoa.
Yeah. There's some problems.
Yeah.
I told him to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, they're supposed to resurface those roadways curb to curb. Brian?
Test. Okay. Yeah, any update on any plans for Glendale with regard to sewer? I know you mentioned it a couple of meetings ago.
I believe they're in design. If I remember correctly, the project is SE 877. And that project is primarily 77th Avenue from 81st Street to 88th Street. So I think they're in the beginning of design, Brian. So, when we met with them at DEP, in 2007, I got a meeting at DEP at their headquarters in Queens, and what we were pushing was a project for Middle Village, in the area where this project has taken place, a project for Maspeth, because Maspeth got flooded bad, and a project for Glendale, mainly in eastern Glendale, but also there's concern about that area at the top of the Cooper Avenue underpass, 76th Street over there by where Kliegman Brothers used to be. Thank God, Ridgewood was dry compared to those other neighborhoods. So I didn't see that we needed a big sewer project in Ridgewood unless there's something I didn't know about. But the other three neighborhoods where we wanted sewer projects to have more capacity so people wouldn't get flooded, we will have gotten all three of them once we get to Glendale. Jerry Drake. Oh, that's festive.
Have to wait for the microphone. Gary, I have a question for you, and it's probably very difficult or maybe impossible for you to answer, so I understand. Regarding the graffiti, you said 2,000 paint overs per year. Do you have a breakdown of that? How many were re-graffitied, how many times a certain area was painted over and over again. Because I know in my neighborhood I had Mr. Kersner sent his group in, and Mr. Holden sent his people in, and the minute of the day or 2 days later, they're all graffitied again. And I was going to speak on the public forum on this, but I have to wait for next month because I'm still talking. We contacted the 104, Laura, a young lady in my neighborhood on Christmas morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, decided to take her dog for a walk, and there were 4 guys had nothing better to do on Christmas night, night before Christmas, whatever it was, to graffiti both sides of the street extensively. They saw her. They told her in many different words, what they were going to do with her. Abduct her was one of the words that I can use here. And she became extremely frightened and ran away. When I got home at 2 o'clock in the morning, I saw the police cars all over the place. And I spoke to them, and they said, well, the owners of these buildings have to make a report. So that's one thing I wanted to speak to the 104 about. And I know the officers were here. I didn't want to disrupt the meeting. When does this stop? This jumping of the turnstiles, the throwing water on police. Is it going to be urine the next time or acid? When is this is, we're talking about telling people they should have respect. I respect every race, every religion. I demand it from them. If they don't want to respect me for my views and what I am, then I don't respect them. If you want to go on our property and start tagging it up, and we identify we've done a lot of work on this over the last 10 years that I've been living there, 20 years now. It just doesn't stop because it's been downgraded to a misdemeanor. It's a victimless crime. Nobody is. Now they're threatening a citizen just walking, a young 24-year-old girl, maybe not, a rocket scientist, thinking that she could be safe in walking her dog at 2 in the morning on Christmas. So this is these paint overs, in my opinion, and I know you spent a lot of money, and I know, Paul has been very active, and many other people. It ain't working. I don't know what else to say.
I agree with a lot of what you said.
Thank you.
But it has worked in a lot of cases. Jerry, we got graffiti. This is what I could tell you. Maspeth, where you live, is a big canvas. So it's kind of difficult because you have these enormous walls and it's desolate at night. But locations that were graffiti, where graffiti was on the wall, a paintable surface, not brick, or on gates for decades, or at least a half a decade. We got it taken off. Restoration's gotten a lot of it taken off, power washing and that sort of thing. And in a lot of locations, they stayed clean for quite some time. So a lot of it is where it is, and how desolate it is, and how inviting it is.
So that's my question. How long have these ones that stayed clean for a long time, how many years? How many were just graffitied within a week again? You don't have any breakdown?
No, I don't have that.
So that's a big problem.
We were banditos on the street at 6 o'clock in the morning painting whatever we pleased.
Yeah.
Essentially,
yeah.
Whether you liked it or not. Yeah. So we weren't counting, you know what I mean? We would go back out there and get it done again.
Yeah. Well, we're installing cameras now, but that's, we have the cameras already. All my houses on my block have the cameras, and some of the warehouse has camera looking down the block. And these 4 guys were ID'd by the young lady, and she got the license plate of the car, which is Ontario, Canada. So that might be a stolen vehicle. I don't know. We don't hear anything from the police except the building owners have to file a report. What are they going to say? My building was tagged, and then the report gets where? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm not being. It sounds like I'm sarcastic, but I'm not trying to be. I'm very concerned about this because this seems to be a pattern of disrespect that you're talking about. These people don't respect the private property of the building owners that are trying to make a living in their buildings.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary.
The reason the property owner needs to file the report is so it's on record, and then it's recognized at CompStat that we need more police or more surveillance or more work. If you just don't report it and complain about it, it's not going to be taken care of.
Yeah, Vinny, I tell this to my neighbors all the time. You know, my truck was broken into. They'd I say, report. They no, the police don't do it. I said, I'll tell you what, if you don't report it, I know the police are not going to do anything. So we've been through that, too. We're trying our best down there. It's just really difficult in this country now. I've seen a big change, and so have you. We're the same age, Vinny, and it's not the same country as it was when we were young.
Well, we're going to make America great again. And, you know, little things.
Thank you for your, if it wasn't for your humor.
No, but little things that you don't notice.
Yes. Oh, in many ways, it is a wonderful country still, absolutely.
But just little things. So have you noticed the United States Army current uniform?
Yes, I have. I was in the
brown. So you remember the brown and tan from World War II, which was the greatest generation. Now the new Army is now the great generation, and they're wearing the same uniform. And it has affected those people because they feel a kinship between the troops now and those that were the greatest generation. So that's little things, and we see more and more of that every day.
You make me feel better now. Thank you.
Okay, so we could talk forever, but do we have any committee reports? No one was busy during the off-season, okay, except the executive committee, and we had a little bit of report. That was mostly budget, but we also talked about you know, some of the comments that were made here, and in your folder, everyone got a response to some of the comments that were made on the floor last meeting, 2 meetings ago. So I like to put that subject to rest. Everyone knows, if you read carefully, everybody understands what went on. And I think Jerry's respect, Gary's respect, we have to respect each other. And if we have something to discuss and you can't reach that person or organization, we would be most happy to be the intermediary, or as they used to say in the old movies, the interlocker. I could be the interlocker, okay? So anything else to come before us? Any old business? Any new business? Have motion to adjourn? Yes, to Fred.
We now have the nice pins that you made.
Did you get one?
I did.
Testing?
Yeah.
We did have business cards in the past.
No.
You never had business cards?
No, we stopped them.
I had a business.
No, we stopped them because some of our astute members were going to sites where we were looking at variances and going in with their business card and insinuating they were there formally representing the board. So that is out.
So that's why we stopped years ago.
Yes, and people were printing their own, and one of them is in a deep in Pennsylvania in a rest home right now that did that. Okay.
Okay, I just remembered that. Go ahead.
Right. All right. Yeah, everybody need bags? Oh, the ladies left, but we'll get them at the office. Okay, so see her afterwards. Thank you.
Very good.
I can't. Oh, Laura, there's a card for Pat Grayson, who fell, broke a hip. It's in rehab. If anyone would like to sign it. Motion. Yes. Jerry Drake. Yeah. Okay. All in favor? Thank you.